and welcome to this press meet. I think this is quite an opportune day for us to talk about what is the most pressing ecological problem of our times, the need to prevent the very extinction of our soil. It's an appropriate day for two reasons. One, of course, is that this is World Environmental Day. So it's a natural opportunity for us to renew our commitment and redouble our focus behind the major problems that we have on the environmental front. And the second one, of course, is the fact that we are in full swing of Sadhguru's incredible journey, which started on March 21st in London of this year, 30,000 kilometers, spanning 100 days, going across 27 different countries, now in India, today here on day 77, as a lone motorcyclist. A lone motorcyclist through the blizzards and snow of Europe, through the desert and sandstorms of Arabia, and now he will be going through the length and breadth of our land through the monsoons. There's no way to describe that, and I thought that the best way of doing that would actually be for you to see a video. So what we propose is that we'll play two videos. First, a short video which will describe to you what the safe soil problem is in India and indeed around the world, which is why the campaign and movement has been focused around the world, because it's a problem not just in India, but indeed everywhere. And then we will have a glimpses video which will show you how the movement has been progressing, the incredible response that we've had with, the movement has reached 2.4 billion people, and 74 independent countries have actually signed on to actually take action on this, which sets us up very well for the last leg of the movement in India. As we move from state to state, you may have heard that, as he's ridden from Gujarat to Rajasthan, 2 states have already signed MOUs to actually take the action on the ground, and the rest of the journey is going to happen over the next 20 days. So without further ado, let me ask for the video to be played. Sadhguru will be here in a few minutes, and we'll take the discussion from there. Can we have the video, please?
And imagine the country you live in being hit by less and less fertile soil, making crop growing increasingly difficult.
Sandstorm conditions prevail in the Indian capital, and now there are fears of early desertification of the region.
Desertification and erosion are both concerns.
Soil is the habitat upon which zillions of lives thrive. Because of that thriving life, everything grows. We eat food, other animals grow, everything happens because soil is rich. Once there is no richness in soil, then you have forsaken the planet in many ways.
Data, they're clearly saying that we have soil, agricultural soil for another 80 to 100 crops on the planet. This is 45 to 60 years is what we have agricultural soil. They're calling this as soil extinction. You've heard of dinosaurs going extinct, you have heard of dodos going extinct, but this is soil extinction is what we're looking at. The real problem is soil extinction because in the last 30 years, 80% of the biomass insects have disappeared from the planet. 80%. This is a suicide. This is a real suicide.
So in 45 years' time or 50 years' time, there will be serious food crisis on the planet, it's inevitable. When food crisis comes, well, whoever has the biggest guns will come and take the food. And the chaos and the suffering that we will create for populations around the world is unimaginable. Don't think only the poor people will die. They will kill the rich and rich will die. So this is not to paint a dark picture. This is a reality which has happened many times in our history, and once again it is being predicted by top scientists in the world. So what are we going to do?
Why soil going away? Where is it going away? See, what is sand becomes soil if you add organic content to it. What is soil becomes sand if you take away all the organic content from it. If you go into a rainforest, the organic content in the soil will be over 70%. In normal agricultural soil, the minimum organic content that has to be there to call soil soil is 3 to 6%. 3% is the most minimum. But today, for example, in India, 62% of India's soil, the organic content is 0.5% or below that. So literally we are on the verge of desertification. This is across the world, this is not in one country. In United States, the way the land has been used in terms of herbicides, weedicides, pesticides, well, we need to understand nearly 82 to 86% of biodiversity is within the first 12 inches of topsoil. When we plow with machines like tractors plow to a depth of 9 to 12 inches and leave it open, this means we are destroying the biodiversity completely. What biodiversity means is, it's the humus in the soil. The word human comes from the word humus. That means this is actually living soil.
So it's very, very important that soil becomes the focus, because if you put 1/3 to 40% of the land, especially in the tropical world, under tree shade, your climate change could be easily reversed. Land is getting hot simply because it is plowed or it is paved. Land has to go under vegetation, whatever kind, natural grasses, bushes, trees, whatever, because all these are serving the ecological activity. And we must also understand soil is a very significant carbon sink, and soil is the largest water soak on the planet. And soil is the basis of all life. This 36 to 39 inches of topsoil on average around the planet is the basis of 87% of life on this planet. To keep the biodiversity alive is the most important thing that we need to do right now. Unless we start now, this will not happen. As a part of this, we are unfolding a movement called Conscious Planet to bring maximum number of people. Right now, it looks like climate change, ecology, all these are playground for the rich and elite. No, this must change. Individual human beings should become conscious about the danger that we are facing. Ecological issues must become election issues, and political parties must give significance to ecological issues in their manifestos. Governments must be elected for their concern for ecological issues. This needs to happen.
So we are seeing how to bring about a policy recommendation for 192 countries. The rally is starting on 21st of March, which is the equinox day in London. And from London, it's a single lone motorcycle riding through 24 countries, 30,000 kilometers, reaching the Kaveri Basin, where we are on ground working in a river basin which is 83,000 square kilometers, and 5.2 million farmers work here.
The very body that we carry is soil. Without soil being rich and well, this body and every other life cannot be well. So in terms of ecology, in terms of climate change, the most important thing is that we need to have a conscious approach as to how we manage our soil, how we rejuvenate our soil, how we revitalize our soil. This conscious approach and creating a conscious planet is what is most important. Without involving large mass of people, this will not become a reality, because we are democratic nations. Unless people say this is what they want, that is not going to happen. So let's create a conscious planet. Let's make it happen.
It's a great pleasure for me. These beautiful Caribbean nations are going for this first.
Yes, Lord. this memorandum of understanding that we signed, it will also bring some technical assistance to the Caribbean region.
This is a historic moment because here is the first step to turn around.
What you're doing today is really important because people like you who have a wonderful following of millions and millions of people, and what you're doing with that is so important with saving the soil.
If you want to say, I love you to your child, you must just say save soil, because it is a more committed way of saying I love you.
It's an extraordinary campaign. It echoes what we in the Commonwealth have been aspiring to do for a number of years.
Next 100 days from 21st of March, we want the whole world to talk about soil.
It is not about the motorcycle, it's not about the journey, it's not about the song, it is about moving people on the planet. Make it happen, huh?
Nobody spoke about soil like Sadhguru does.
I think if we all contribute, then we have a really strong voice.
There has been so much excitement and everybody is so excited to hear Sadhguru.
This is our time on the planet. What we do here is our business. Let's do the right things.
I honestly didn't feel a part of the movement before. Obviously, I'd never met him. Seeing what kind of a following he has and how impactful it is, I really feel like I just joined a global movement.
Graffiti artists supporting this Save Soil movement, wanting to inspire the youth, and youth being the major population in most parts of the world today, all graffiti artists, to whatever walls that you have, make sure that you use this. One of the most beautiful cities of Europe.
It really resonated with me, the message that we have to save our soil.
It's our common issue together. It's not for one nation, for one person, but we as people have to unite and to solve this.
This is a celebration of human beings coming together to do what they need to do. All of us have been part of this destruction. The only way is all of us become part of the solution also.
Sadhguru,
Riding on to Italy. Italy is raining heavily tonight. Here in Venice.
So it's like a wave of hope.
It's necessary for the future.
Over 2,000 years ago, this eternal city made the mistake of over-farming the region, and that was also the fall of the city at that time. So, the Romans of today should never make that mistake once again.
And we are very happy that we are aligned in our message to really high the profile of soils.
young people getting into farming is very good. That's the future of the world.
Here we are in Geneva.
I think it's a message of urgency. but it's also a message of hope. So I would really like to thank Sadhguru for his leadership.
The global movement led by him addresses the soil crisis by mobilizing people around the entire world.
This massive fountain in the Lake of Geneva is lit up for Save Soil today with Save Soil colors of blue and green. You cannot stop this. The moment is on. It's going to be on till the policies are done.
In this cold, slippery road and winds are picking up speed, no matter what the hell, I have to keep going. You think this is a problem? Relentless commitment to what you do. That is the only solution. Save soil, let's make it happen.
An MOU to be signed between Isha Foundation and 4,000 Initiative Soils for Food Security and Climate.
We were just sharing exactly the same objective: increasing carbon content in the soil.
Sadhguru, what you are doing is really impressive.
I'm quite amazed and thrilled by it.
I was very honored to be on the stage and be able to actually express that his mission is what we need.
It's fantastic. The France has been great.
Well, Brussels,
we should all stand up and make the most impact we can to create a real change in the world.
Save the soil.
A smashing evening at the main event, and a super enthusiastic crowd committing themselves to make this happen.
It's heartwarming to see everybody come together.
Save soil, on the move. Let's make it happen. Just look up the news and see in the last 4 months, how many governments have started talking about soil because they see it's picking up momentum. But if you create 3 to 4 billion people talking about soil, that's it. That will be the main conversation in the government.
Save the Soil is a very important movement that we support as UNCCD. We would like to propose to the world to do whatever they can to protect the soil, because it is our future.
save soil, let's make it happen.
I need someone to show me the way. I need someone to show me the way.
The education ministry in Germany has now come into the picture officially and asked all the children to do artwork to support Save Soil movement. Good, Arjun, wonderful. Congratulations that you wrote to the Prime Minister.
Let's make it happen!
So, on the way to Bratislava, well, the road surface is not great. It's great that all of you are here in Bratislava. Nobody ever imagined 100 years ago that we will have to save soil of all the things.
Would you like to come in the kitchen and cook with me a little bit?
Why not? Without soil being rich, food won't be rich. Without food being rich, our bodies will not be a full potential. What do you call it?
It's a Sadhguru-san.
Table 12.
The old heroes always built something which stands up like this, but the new heroes are those people who will nurture the soil which always lies beneath our feet, never stands up. Wonderful city of Belgrade The UNFAO said something which really deeply hurt me, is the soil that we are consuming right now belongs not even to these little children, belongs to the unborn child. This is an expression of our love and responsibility for our own lives and the future lives.
I love the message that he sent and how he broadened it, that it's everybody's responsibility.
I think there is a great potential for a good collaboration, partnership with the campaign Save the Soil and what we are doing as a government. We can make it together.
It's very important, bringing a certain sense of love and celebration towards the land that we walk upon.
Going from Sofia to Bucharest, not a weather for motorcycle for sure.
Organize yourselves whichever way you want, form groups, come together somehow and see this happens.
Sadhguru reminded me that I have a voice.
The people from Istanbul were really amazed by Sadhguru to appear, and they were just so happy to see him.
This many people, if all of you are committed and you spend 15-20 minutes a day to enhance the message, I think I don't have to go on riding like crazy. Yesterday I rode 18 hours, can you believe this, through Bulgarian roads?
Is an honest expression of his wisdom and love for humanity, I think.
He'd been riding through very rough terrain, rough roads, dusty construction sites.
It was a long drive and we were getting a little late for the live event at Tbilisi.
He, right at the end, maybe 5 minutes before the event, decided that he couldn't stop for a break.
In the traffic, he was just removing his jacket and gloves and throwing in the car just to make it on time.
The whole purpose of this moment is to bring this home, that when you walk up on the soil, you know it is the source of your life. Keeping it alive is the most important thing. Will you make it happen?
For the people, for the earth, for the soil.
We must save each other. We must plant the trees. We must replenish the forest. We must save our planet.
Wonderful, thank you so much for standing up for soil. Right now, soil has turned into sand because we pulled out all the organic content. We are taking the life out of the soil. If we don't put that back, all the other concerns which are important to be attended to, but none of them will matter.
This is not for us, this is for him and his generation, hoping that they would have a better future with a better world. Save soil.
I hope the video has given you a sense of the intense exuberance with which people from every single country have responded to Sadhguru's rally and this whole idea that mother soil needs to be protected. It's not surprising, therefore, that 2.40 billion people, most of that on social media, have actually got involved in a celebratory manner, because it's a problem that we can solve, we know the way, and Sadhguru is just bringing attention to that. So that sets us up really for the question and answer session that's going to happen now, and Sadhguru has just arrived. There are two aspects that just keep in mind. I think if you could kindly switch off your mobile phones, and as you ask your questions, it would be good if you could introduce yourself first with your name and your organization, so that sets the context, and we can kind of take it from there. And at the end of this session, we will have the media kits available at the registration desk outside. So without further ado, I'd request Sadhguru to come up and open the floor for any questions that you may have, and for Sadhguru to address the audience.
Okay. Namaskaram to all of you. Namaskaram and welcome. Well, as you know, it's been a 75-day journey, crossing over 27 nations, nearly 23,000 kilometers. 74 nations have come on board for this, and above all, our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, has given unstinted support to the Save Soil as a project for the nation. He is absolutely committed to this reviving soil or regenerating soil in this country, as clearly he understands that when 60% of the country's population is in farming, and without enhancing the soil quality, whatever else we do, we shall not be successful in that process of enhancing the life in this country, because 60% of the population is a rural population. Without enhancing soil, there is no enhancement of life for them. This is clearly understood, and we are expecting a slew of policies in the next few months towards regenerating soil in Bharat, and above all, this is a nation where we have always held soil as… referred to soil as our mother. We can't have a dead mother. It's very important future generations have a living mother. This is a responsibility and a commitment that all of us have. Please, you can ask some questions. No questions.
So what's the impression that you got from countries you visited? At least 26
If you can take a microphone, ma'am, please. Yeah.
So what's the response that you've got from various countries you've been to? You say you've been appreciated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but what's the sense that you've got from the Western country, the Western world?
It's not about appreciation. We are not looking for appreciation even from our Prime Minister. It is just a commitment towards soil regeneration, which definitely we have absolutely from our Prime Minister. About the other nations, response from the people has been nothing short of spectacular. Nearly 2.5 billion people have spoken about soil since we started the movement on 21st of March, plus 74 nations have come on board already. I have also addressed the COP15 where 197 participated, and soil has become a main theme of discussions and debates in all these nations today, where it was not even on the picture or agenda for till recently. So, what is the impact of this whole movement in the rest of the world when 2.5 billion people have spoken, and it will continue
Our objective is to get 3.6 billion people, which amounts to 60% of the adult population in the world. When 60% of the adult population in the world speaks, no democratically elected government will ignore that. So, this is the basic metric with which we are going. Already we have signed MOUs with many nations, largely with agricultural ministers and environment ministers of those nations. Especially now with the Ukraine war, people have realized how food security, apple cart can just change within a couple of months. What they had assumed is for good suddenly is upside down, and already bread prices in Europe are nearly 70% up, and they fear by the end of June or July, it could be up to 200%. And people are fearing severe famines in nearly 6 to 7 nations in the world, which will go into that simply because of this one war, unless something changes about the war. So, the response has been nothing short of spectacular. Commonwealth nations, which are 54 in number, have made a declaration that they will definitely go this way. The CARICOM nations, that is the Caribbean nations, have already signed up, and we are setting up some kind of a hand-holding mechanism for these smaller nations. We are also in the process of establishing a 25-member scientific committee which will handhold small nations which don't have their own capability to set up scientific committees. And 9 UN agencies are working with us, so it is progress for sure. Yes, please.
So you are in a sense an ambassador since you do travel to a lot of countries, but there is a raging controversy. Nupur Sharma and Naveen Jindal of the BJP have been suspended owing to controversial remarks being made on Prophet Muhammad. There has been some backlash as being reported widely now about the comments made on a TV report, on a TV panel. How do you see this? Do you think it gives India a bad name, or do you think the comments of this nature should not be made?
See, this is the problem in the world, that we are constantly looking for what are the differences between us. In how many ways we can divide people has become the way of life in the name of something so fundamental as gender, caste, creed, religion, nationality, race. In so many ways, we are always finding ways to divide ourselves. As human competence increases, as human beings get more and more empowered with technology and various other means, it becomes extremely important that we find some common denominators among us, no matter what is your political ideology, what is your religion, what is your caste, creed, nationality, it doesn't matter what. All of us come from the soil, thrive upon this soil, and when we die, we go back to this soil. The only choice we have is, will we realize this now, or will we only realize it when we are buried?
Hello, I am Suresh Busari from Lokmat. Sir, you have traveled all over the world, but what do you differentiate the problem of India as far as ecology is concerned all over the world?
One important thing is, in India, the load of population on the land that we have is very heavy. We have only 4% of the world's land and over 17% of the world's population, which is a difficult proportion to handle. Apart from that, the problem is same, because there is not a single nation, there is not a single nation in the entire world which has the minimum 3% organic content, which is the base level to call soil as soil. The highest organic content that you find on an average is in the Northern Europe, which is 1.48%. Southern Europe is 1.1 to 1.2%. United States is 1.25 to 1.3%. India is 0.68%. African continent, the average across the nations is 0.3%. So, the entire world is driving towards a famine. If we don't course correct right now, that's where we will go, and that will be a shame with this level of organization, technology, information, knowledge, if we are going to once again drive towards famine. When I say once again, we should not forget, just 60, 70 years ago, there used to be severe famines almost everywhere in the world, particularly in our country. Well, last 2 generations we've eaten well and suddenly we have forgotten there is such a thing. Once again we are driving towards a famine, but as a generation we have the privilege that we could turn this around, we could be that generation which turned back from the brink of a disaster. And it's not rocket science, it is not very difficult, it doesn't need extraordinary financial outlays. What it takes is, right now we are facing the wall. If we face towards the door and relentless commitment to move in that direction, we will be there in 8 to 10 years' time, that's all it takes. So, I think in India that resolve is there right now, and in many nations where I have traveled, the resolve is there, especially desert nations like UAE, Saudi Arabia, Israel. They've done a fantastic job. Israel is producing 94% of its food requirement upon its own tiny little piece of desert. Only 17% of Israel's land is arable, 54% is proper desert, but they're growing 94% of the food that they need. Saudi Arabia means you have an image of sand dunes, but they've leveled sand dunes and made it into farmlands. This has been quietly happening since 1970s. I have kept abreast of what has been happening there, it's quite incredible, but that's a very expensive way of doing it. Most nations cannot afford to do it the way they have done it. But the incredible thing is they have done it, turned harsh deserts into fertile lands, when the rest of the world is busy turning fertile lands into deserts.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. Hi, this is Vineet Khare from the BBC. You mentioned that a certain number of countries, I think 70+ countries, are on board, and MOUs have been signed with the Caribbean nations. Could you give us a sense of the details of those MOUs? What are you going to do since you're a private entity, and what are the details of those MOUs, if you can just spell it out? Thank you.
See, the MOU is not is a simple understanding as it suggests, it's a memorandum of understanding. To take the conversation further and get into action, the very reason why they sign these MOUs is they have the same intent, but it was just never articulated till now. So now this articulation has happened in the form of an MOU, so now we have a proper connect with them to communicate and work with them. We are setting up groups of qualified volunteers in these nations wherever we have MOUs. Caribbean nations are even asking us to set up the basic 8 to 10 crops that they normally traditionally grew, they want a station to demonstrate as to how it can be done as a part of soil regeneration process. Similar things are being asked in UAE and Indonesia. We are yet to go in that direction, because this is not necessary that it all has to be demonstrated in those countries. It's substantially demonstrated here in southern India. So we are bringing teams from there to have study tours here. They could be farmers, they could be from their departments or scientists who come and see how it is done. Conditions may be a little different in those nations, but fundamentally it's the same work. We need to understand this. To increase organic content in the soil means 3% is considered the minimum, the most minimum actually. This means we are giving food to the microorganisms. Microorganisms are in such huge numbers in the soil, that is what keeps the soil alive. It is something that most human beings, unfortunately, though they may read it in their high school textbooks, who have forgotten this, that who we are right now is a consequence of the life that's happening in the first 15 to 18 inches of topsoil. So the organism life that is happening there is the basis of our existence, both in evolutionary terms and today as nourishment also. And the air that you breathe is dependent on that, the water that you drink is dependent on that, food that you eat, of course, is dependent on that. Above all, there is a transaction. Over 60% of our bodies is microorganisms, only 40% is genetic material. When this is the case, there is an interaction, life is a global phenomena. Nationalities or nations, we have cut the planet like pieces of cake and think we can take it away separately. we shouldn't take our nationality that seriously. It is an administrative and political arrangement. It ecologically, in terms of soil ecology, in terms of life on this planet, our national boundaries mean nothing. So working together becomes important, but land is under the control of national governments or state governments, we have to work accordingly. That's why the MOUs. MOU is an expression of willingness.
Namaskaram Sadhguru. I'm Namrata Kohli from Business Standard. Kudos to your efforts and for taking a very pertinent issue and very successfully so. My question is about green revolution, white revolution. You know, they came at a time when they were relevant, when India was struggling with food in a very significant way. However, people, as you yourself have mentioned at some point of time, they are dying more of eating more rather than eating less. At a time when there's self-sufficiency and there's a sort of an explosion of diabetes, thyroid, every other person has vitamin B12 deficiency, D, so on and so forth. Do you think the time has come to think of turning the tide and really look at organic methodologies of farming in a significant manner? Thank you, Sadhguru.
Well, as you rightly pointed out, these steps were taken at a time when there was a hangover, fear of famines. It's very easy to turn back today and do post-mortem and look at all the mistakes they made, but they scrambled to fix it. You need to understand, famine is not a simple situation. A famine means it is the most horrible and horrendous way for a human being to die. It's not like a war that somebody shoots you in the head. Famine means you fade your life slowly for 3 to 4 months. Okay, hello, yep. Some microphone they turned on, please be careful. So a famine is a terrible way to end human life, and that was a very common thing in the early 20th century and even before that. So, in a scramble of wanting to go beyond the famine situations, it was a bridge that we built in the form of green revolution. But when you get onto a bridge somewhere, the bridge has to get down to the land, but we stayed on the bridge a bit too long. If you stay on the bridge for a bit too long, then it becomes a bridge to nowhere. So, in many ways, most nations have made the same mistake. But in India, it's a little more stark because of the populations that we have. As I said, between 4% to 17% of population, the equation is not great that way. So because of that, we see it more stark. As I've also mentioned many times, see, India's average life expectancy in 1947, when the British left, was 28 years. That means almost nobody in this room has a right to live right now. So, today we have reached 74 years, which is a significant development, enhancement of life and life expectancy in this nation. So that has happened mainly because of green revolution, for sure. All of us are alive because of that in many ways. So nobody can find fault with that, but the correction, the time for making corrections has also come. Now preserving the soil long term, turning it around, there is much more knowledge, there is variety of gentler technologies to do this, and above all, a nation can afford this now with the economic development that we have and the capabilities that we have, which was not there with us in 1950s.
Vanakkam, Sadhguru. Namaste. ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಮಂಜುನಾಥ್ ಅಂತ ಏಷ್ಯಾನೆಟ್ ಸುವರ್ಣ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಕನ್ನಡ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಚಾನಲ್. ಸೊ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ VT ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ VTಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂಡ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಮಾತನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ ನೀವು, ಅಂದರೆ ಸೇವ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ಇದು ಬಹು ಜನರಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿದ್ದು ಈ ಕೊನೆಯ ತನಕ, ಅಂದರೆ ಅದೊಂದು ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಮಾಡೋ ತನಕವೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ಹೋರಾಟ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಭಾರತದ ಸ್ಪಂದನೆ ಹೇಗಿದೆ? ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನೀವು ಪ್ರೈಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಕೂಡ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೈಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಸ್ಪಂದಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ?
ಹೋರಾಟ ಅನ್ನೋ ಶಬ್ದ ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ಹೋರಾಟ ಅಲ್ಲ. Well, to translate this in English, he says this struggle or Struggle or fight? Horata means fight. This fight for safe soil. This is not a fight, this is not even a protest or not an agitation. This is an expression of our love and responsibility for the life that we are and the life that's around us and the life that should be beyond us. So this is not in conflict with anything, this is not against anybody. I have not met a single human being who disagrees soil should be rich. Whether you talk to a fertilizer company, pesticide company, oil company, automobile company, talk to anybody, there is nobody who says soil should not be rich. So there is no struggle, we are all in this together. We must understand that knowingly or unknowingly, every one of us are partners in this destruction. The only way forward is that every one of us are partners in the solution. That means there is no fight. So, what is the Prime Minister's response? As I already said, he is absolutely committed to save soil as a process, otherwise he wouldn't spend the time that he has spent in making this happen. And on this World Environment Day, there are many commitments, but save soil does not mean it's a single point agenda. The main agenda is to separate soil from other environmental issues. Because other environmental issues, the moment we take them up, as you said, Mr. Manjunath, horata will come, struggle will come, because there are many interests in the world. It's very nice to sit here and say, stop all the oil company, but the light that is burning here means somewhere something is burning. We don't know whether it's coal or oil or nuclear, what is burning behind this light bulb. You do not know, but all of us are benefiting from that. So once you start or once you take other environmental aspects into consideration, there will be a struggle, there will be conflict, there will be many negotiations, endless amount of debates going on for decades as it's been going on. But about soil, there is no debate, there is no fight, there is no struggle. Everybody is with this, enhancing soil organic content. Is there any disagreement? There is no disagreement with anybody. Only thing is effective implementation, how do we do? For which the government has to make policies. We have… do we have the policy handbook here? So we have made policy handbook for India, but we also made policy handbooks for 193 nations, that includes India, so 192 nations, unique ones, based on the latitudinal position of the nation, soil types in that country, economic conditions of the given nation and agricultural traditions. Why agricultural traditions is, even if you have all the science with you, you cannot change the agricultural traditions of a given nation overnight. You have to work with it. So based on this, we made 193 soil policies, which we have presented at COP15, which has reached almost all the nations except a few. We are seeing how to make that happen. But almost all the nations, over 170 nations, I think it's already reached the handbook. So this is for India, that we have a policy handbook. Do we have it here, please? Anyway, please, we will show it to you. Please.
Sadhguru.
Where are you?
Mr. Sadhguru here. I am Darwin from News 7 Tamil. என்னுடைய கேள்வி என்னன்னா, லார்ஜ்லி நம்ம இப்போ கெமிக்கலைஸ்டு யூஸ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்க டைம்லையும், இண்டஸ்ட்ரியலைசேஷன் அதிகமாக இருக்கிற டைம்லையும் இந்த மண் வளம் காப்போம் அப்படின்னு உள்ளது எந்த அளவுக்கு சாத்தியமாக இருக்கும்? ரெண்டாவது, இந்தியாவிலையும் நீங்கள் வெளிநாட்டு பயணங்கள் போகும்போதும் இரண்டு வேறு மக்களிடையே பார்த்த அந்த விழிப்புணர்வுகள் எந்த அளவுக்கு இருந்தது?
இப்போ நீங்கள் உணவு சாப்பிட்றோம் நாம் ரெண்டு பேரும். அப்படி இருந்தால ஒரு வைட்டமின் பில் எடுக்க முடியுமா? ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை வராது தானே? இது அப்படி தான். The question is, when we are doing farming with chemical fertilizers and pesticides and insecticides, to what extent is it really a practical thing to talk about safe soil? So we need to understand this. how fertilizers became what they have become today. In 1918, a German scientist came up with the first nitrogenous fertilizer. When people threw this on the land, it worked like magic. Literally everything burst out. In India, there are many regions where the yields went up by 300%. If you are a farmer and if your yield goes up by 300%, won't you fall in love with this magic powder? That's all that happened. So as this happened, we wanted to plow every inch of the land, so we removed all the plants. And as the work increased, we brought machines. Because the machines came, the animals went out. We must understand the only two sources of organic content on this planet and in the known universe is plant life and animal life. There is simply no other organic content. If you see any farm today, your image of a farm is vast extensive plowed land, only machines moving around, no animals, no plants. That means there's no replenishment. So we are just trying to live on vitamin pills without a meal. I'm saying, let's have a meal. If you need vitamin pills, please take it, it's up to you. How much you want to take depends on how rich your food is, isn't it? If your food is very rich, a little bit of addition will take care of you. So this whole idea that farmers like to throw fertilizers in their land is a silly idea nurtured in urban minds, because fertilizers cost a lot of money. No farmer is going to take it and simply throw it out. Right now, the soil condition is such, if you do not use a certain quantum of fertilizer, nothing will come out of that farm. Right now, the land is in that condition. If the land or the soil quality is improved, naturally the fertilizer usage will start sliding down, and that's how it should happen. You should not make a law, cut down fertilizer to 50%. You will be making a severe mistake because you will be cutting down food production itself. If any government takes this stance that let us cut down the fertilizer usage, you will be making a very severe mistake because food production will drop. In my opinion, if you take away all fertilizers and other chemicals that are being used in the farming process right now, I think the world's food production could come down to 25% of what it is. That is the worst disaster you could unfold. So it's very important that people don't talk about this, because urban populations have this thing to say, let's do organic farming. They don't know nothing about farming, because farm economy is such a fragile process. If you touch it, it'll collapse. It's extremely important, it should be bolstered with incentives and slowly enhance the quality of the soil. And enhancing the quality of the soil is very much possible, no matter how much chemical usage is there right now.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. With your permission, I'll sit because the recording is going on. I'm Sulakshna and I represent 92.7 Big FM, the channel which had aired one of the biggest show with you, Dhun Badal Ke To Dekho with Sadhguru. My question is slightly light because we are entertainment with purpose. So, there was a very popular character, Shankaran Pillai, and you talk about him often. Shankaran Pillai wants to ask that as a layman who doesn't have a farm, who doesn't have much knowledge and has supported the Save Soil movement on digital platforms also, but as a layman, he wants to support the Save Soil movement. How can he do that? Because he's not into policy making, he's not an authority. What else can be done, Sadhguru?
You're co-opting Mr. Pillai, he's So, what can an ordinary person do? What can a simple citizen in the country do? This is what every citizen in a democratic nation needs to understand. You not only have a vote, you have a voice, which is very important. What is media? It's a voice, isn't it? And it's important. Voice is very important in a democratic nation. Everybody is asking me this question, wherever I travel in every country, all that is okay, Sadhguru, can we do something today? Okay, what you want to do is, you want to roll up your sleeves, go home and fix your kitchen garden. No, I will not give you that satisfaction. because you fixing your kitchen garden is very cute, but it is not a solution. We've passed that time. If you had asked me this question in 60s, I would have said, yes, fix the kitchen garden, also educate your neighbor to fix his. Not anymore. We've reached 2022, we are at a place, unless there are proper policy changes which will bring about large-scale transformation in the way we farm our lands, is not going to work. We must understand, in the world, 54% of the world's land is seriously farmed, full-time farmed. Another 18 to 20% is part-time farmed. So nearly 71% of the world's land is plowed. 4.2% of the world's land is urban land and it's paved. So this is the problem, 76% of the land is either plowed or paved. So that means there is no photosynthesis. What photosynthesis means is, scientists say approximately 1 billion years ago photosynthesis started in a very minor way and evolved. Photosynthesis means certain plant life learned to cook their food using the perpetual energy of the sun. And before the photosynthesis or the phenomena of photosynthesis started, the oxygen level in the atmosphere was a little over 1%. Today it is 21%, that is why you and me and Mr. Pillai also are breathing. We are all breathing and alive only because of that. Not only breathing and alive, this life itself evolved in its present form, in its present complexity, only because of 21% oxygen content. All complex life happened only because of that. But in the last 1,000 years, we have removed over 85% of photosynthesis from this planet. What is our plan? I know that was a light question. Yes. So this is the soil revitalization policy for India. This is the draft solutions for handbook. We will put this on the website for the media. It'll be available. If individual people want to have it, they have to cross a few thresholds, but for the media, this handbook will be available on the website. The soft copy will be there.
सतगुरु जी
मैं
इधर हूँ सर, मैं ये आप आज की प्रधानमंत्री से आपकी मुलाकात हुई है और आपको काम को प्रधानमंत्री ने काफ़ी सराहा है। आपने भी प्रधानमंत्री से मुलाकात को बताया बहुत अच्छी रही, लेकिन मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ सर, सरकार के काम को आप कितना सराहते हैं? ये जो मिट्टी बचाओ अभियान या पर्यावरण के लिए जो सरकार का कदम उठा रही है वो कितने सार्थक हैं और कब तक हम ये जो पर्यावरण की समस्या से जूझ रहे हैं इससे निपट पाएंगे?
Can somebody translate that for me, please? How?
How effective Indian government has been? You met Prime Minister Modi today, but
how effective the government has been in protecting the environment?
See, way ahead of any other nation, any other developed nation, India has done one thing. 22 crore soil health cards have been released. It's still, I would say, it is not a fully engaging process with the farmer, but at least soil health cards are there. That means farmer knows that government is trying to assist you. It's like public health system for individual people. Like there is a public health system, whatever condition it may be in, you may not like it the way it is, but still it is serving the rural community in a big way. It is like PDS, where public distribution system is there, you may not like what is being distributed there once you're reasonably well-to-do, but for the poorest of the poor, the PDS system is a lifeline. So just like that, soil health card is not yet a full-fledged process, but it is being distributed and a large-scale, infrastructure for soil testing processes is beginning to happen, very large scale. I do not know the numbers, but from whatever I saw, the effort that's going on, it's very large scale. Till now, among the nations that I have traveled, except maybe Germany and France, I don't think anybody else has any mechanism like this.
Hello, I'm Vishwamohan, I'm from Times of India.
Sadhguru, yeah? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So just like when we talk about energy transition in terms of climate change, similarly, when we have to transition to, for example, saving the soil, saving the water, unless and until farmer gets incentives, they won't switch over. So in case of farming, just transition for farming, it is important that the farmers should get incentives. Somebody should handhold farmers for this transition. So what do you think about it, about the incentives which they should get? And it is sure that unless and until they get incentives, they're not going to change the practice.
It has to be incentive driven, there's no question about that. So let me tell you how it's going on. It's one aspect is, as Vishwamohan, you know that you've been writing about Rally for Rivers, Kaveri calling. What is happening? There's a whole lot of people, once in a way they pop up and ask, oh, what happened to Rally for Rivers? Because it looks like they're like they come awake once in 3 years and ask this question without following up on anything. Rally for Rivers has become the official recommended policy for all the 28 states in the country. Not all states have been proactive, about 6 states were reasonably proactive, but unfortunately during the pandemic, everybody abandoned everything else and put all their forces behind pandemic management, and once again we have to galvanize that. But because we knew that this could happen in the country, we started manifesting this policy on ground in the form of Kaveri calling. Kaveri calling inspired many things. One important thing is today in Karnataka, we managed to get a subsidy for the farmer to grow a tree in his land. We have planted over 67 million trees in the farmland by the farmer in his own land, along with other crops. Last 27 years, this work has been going on. Wherever we have done this for more than 8 to 10 years' time, you can see the soil organic content has crossed well over 3%. It is somewhere in the range of 4 to 6% in most places. And the soil, the nutrient level in the produce has gone up significantly, water tables have come up, irrigation levels have… the need for water for the crop has gone down significantly. Whenever we raise the organic content to 8 to 10%, the irrigation requirement comes down to 30% of what they were using earlier. 100 liters can become 30 liters for the same crop. And this has been possible on one level initially just by inspiration we did with many farmers, but now in Karnataka there is a subsidy that if a farmer plants a tree, we take a picture of that, we geocode it in collaboration with ISRO, and every tree is geocoded. If it dies, immediately it is reported. And there are youth volunteers who are like LIC agents, they are paid 50 paisa per tree. And year on year, they record the growth of this tree. If you take a picture of this tree and put it on the government website, within 24 hours, that money goes straight to the farmer. This has inspired millions of farmers to go for it now. And this is definitely… one thing is, it will enhance the water retention quality of the soil, which will be very wonderful for Kaveri. We must understand in the last 70 years, in the Kaveri basin, we have removed 84% of the tree cover. In the Ganga basin, which accounts for 25% of India's geography and 33% of India's agriculture, we have removed 92% of tree cover. This is how it's been going. Now in both these regions, tree plantations are going on big time, and based on the success of Kaveri calling, that today UNCCD has recognized Kaveri calling as the largest project of that kind in the world right now, that it is being successfully implemented and well documented, and there is a scientific evidence as to how improvements are happening. Looking at the success of this, the government of India made 13 detailed project reports for 13 river basins. India is a land where we think in terms of river basins. Kaveri has a river basin of 83,000 square kilometers, 5.2 million farmers living and working there. Now they made detailed project report for 13 river basins. We've been pushing for budgets and action on the ground. When I was somewhere in… I think I was in Bulgaria, when this news came to me that Government of India allocated 19,000 crores for these 13 river basin enhancement projects. So this is how policy moves, but this has taken me 11 years. That day I counted, the day the budget came for these 13 river basins, I had spent a little over 11 years to get to that place. So this is how it works, but at least it's moving forward. These 13 river basins account for 67% of India's land. If we implement these 13 river basin projects as it is envisioned in the next 8 to 12 years' time, 67% of India's land will be above the crest, for sure.
हेलो गुरुजी, मैं न्यूज़ 24 से हूँ। हमारा सवाल है सर कि 30,000 किलोमीटर की आपने यात्रा की, मोटरसाइकिल ही क्यों पसंद रहा आपका? लोग जनरली जो देख रहे हैं आपको वो पूछ रहे हैं कि मोटरसाइकिल से क्यों गुरुजी यात्रा कर रहे हैं। और दूसरा, इससे अगला सवाल है कि सेफ फार्मर को लेकर है। आपने बहुत सारे राज्यों में, अगले 9 राज्यों में आप घूमेंगे, 2 राज्य घूम चुके हैं, 7 राज्य, इसमें महाराष्ट्र है, तमिलनाडु है, कर्नाटका है। तो वहाँ फार्मर के लिए दुगनी आय करने के लिए या फिर वहाँ के जो पॉलिटिकल पार्टियों से जब आप मिले तो क्या किसानों को कैसे मदद हो? क्योंकि प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाने के लिए जो 3 to 6% आप कह रहे हैं कि ऑर्गेनिक मिट्टी में उपजाऊ चीज़ बढ़ेगी, तो इसको लेकर क्या आपने सलाह दिया और उनकी तरफ से क्या वो चीज़ें हैं? और क्योंकि हाल के दिनों में हम लोगों ने देखा कि टर्की से गेहूं की उपज वापस कर दी गई क्योंकि उनकी क्वालिटी ख़राब थी, बैड क्वालिटी थी। तो क्या फार्मर को सेव करने के लिए क्या कोई एडवाइस या जो पॉलिटिकल पार्टियों ने आपसे बात की हो? ये 2 सवाल हैं।
What did Turkey return? I'm sorry, what was that?
The wheat was returned from Turkey because it was not of good quality.
Okay. So, right now, see how to enhance the organic quality of the soil. There are many ways to do it. There are dozens of ways to do it, or there are 100 different ways to do it. Are we going to go and tell the farmer all those 100 ways? No, this is why state governments become important. Looking at the soil type in a certain region, they could be advised. This knowledge is not new, every agriculture university knows what to do. As I was saying today morning in the event, wherever I went in the agriculture ministries across the world, everybody knows what is the problem, everybody knows what is the solution. But they've been waiting for an idiot to come and bell the cat. So, as I don't hold any office, I am not a minister, I am not a bureaucrat, I don't wear any uniform of that kind to give me some authority. I am a man without any authority over anything. It is only that in these many decades of activity, we have earned a certain amount of love and respect from people, that's about all it is. So what I saw was last 30 years I've been talking about it and talking about it. Everybody says, Sadhguru, this is wonderful, what you're saying is great, and they go to sleep. So I knew I had to do something. As I have no instruments of power in my hand, the only way I can do something is put my life to risk. And this is what I did. Now suddenly they all woke up and 2.5 billion people have responded in a little over 2 months now, 75 days. So, you're asking why a motorcycle, but it has worked, isn't it, the motorcycle? If I flew around in a plane, it wouldn't work, I know that very well. If I drove a car across the world, it wouldn't work. You want me to walk? That would kill me. So I choose an option. Do you want me to cycle? That could also kill me. So I chose an option which is dangerous, but not sure death.
Okay, I think we are kind of running out of time. Can we have one last question?
ಹಲೋ ಸದ್ಗುರು ಅವರೇ, ಈ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಬ್ಯಾನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನು ಕೈಗೊಂಡಿತ್ತು. ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ದಿನಬಳಕೆಗೆ ಅಂಗಡಿ ಮುಂಗಡುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಬ್ಯಾನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಆರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಶಾಪ್ ಓನರ್ಸ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಹೆದರಿದ್ರು ಅದನ್ನು ಬಳಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಬಟ್ ದಿನ ಕಳೆದಂತೆ ಈಗ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಂಗಡಿಗಳಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಹೇರಳವಾಗಿ ಬಳಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. ನಾನು ಯಾಕೆ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಕನ್ನು ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ, ಈಗ ಸೇವ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ನ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಕೂಡ ಮಣ್ಣನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸೋದು ಮತ್ತು ಮಣ್ಣಿನ ಫಲವತ್ತತೆಯನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಸೋದು. ಮಣ್ಣಿನ ಫಲವತ್ತತೆಯನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಬಳಕೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ದೆಹಲಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಡೆ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಬಿದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೆ. ಹೇಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ
See, this is a major problem in the world. If plastic bags are floating around in New Delhi,
Do not think this is an ecological problem. This is a civic issue. This is the irresponsibility of the citizens who live in this city. You are making that into an ecological issue. Please don't do that, because this is the problem in the entire world. Everybody wants to make small issues big. No, it's important that we understand soil is not like plastic bag floating around. And even after the government has passed the law, every day how to come and enforce, shall we have plastic police for this separately? How is this possible? The idea of promulgating a law was initially to enforce with the traders so that people will become aware and refuse to use such products. If people don't take it up, government can pass any number of laws and it won't help. But do not compare that to save soil, because save soil is an economic activity also. Here, incentives will work and it's of a different nature. I think we're not understanding the issue of plastic bags floating around and soil degeneration. These are two different things and of a different scale and nature and of a different level of threat to life on the planet. So, soil as a issue has to be separated from other aspects. This is what I said in the beginning. You must separate soil from other environmental issues, because with the other environmental issues, there are many problems. Now there's a plastic industry, plastic bag making industry, who don't want to follow that. But there is nobody who does not want rich soil. So, when there is an item like that, we must keep it away from all other issues which are contentious, which has conflicting ideas and opinions and conflicting economic interests. Here there is no such thing. It is just a certain amount of determination from the government and a certain amount of investment in the form of incentives. These incentives, let me articulate this, what we have formulated in a very simple way. First level of incentive is, government has to offer an incentive. Right now, on an average in India, most lands have below 1%. Nearly 62% of the land has below 0.5%, which is almost desertification. Now, if you offer an incentive, if you get your land to 3% organic content, we will give you this, that must be substantial enough to make it attractive. So the best way to go, in my opinion, would be, it's for the government's prerogative how they form the policies. 47.3% of the land in the country is farmed by small and medium farmers. Giving incentives to them is easy to do, because what is 100 rupees for a small farmer may be 10 rupees for a big farmer in his perception. So it's best to go for small and medium farmers. With small incentives, you can push that community, which is a very large community. Nearly 87 to 88% of farmers are actually small and medium, but they are farming only 47.3% of the land in the country. So if you push this, nearly 50% of the land will start happening. For the big farmers, the incentives could be worked out differently. It could be structured differently. It's not for me to articulate that, because there is a finance ministry and there are other ministries which will do this. But I feel for small and medium farmers, how you articulate the incentive and how you articulate the incentive for the larger farmers should be different for it to work. All of them coming under the same umbrella may lead to unfair way of treating people. So the next level is, if somebody gets it to 3%, they will get that incentive that could be divided year by year, or it could be the end of the achievement. I feel year by year is good, but still that's government's prerogative. The next thing is, there is something called as carbon credit. Last 7 years, we've been toiling to break this to crack the carbon credit system for the farmer. We have failed miserably. We just can't do it. Looks like a maze which is not leading us anywhere. Endless number of applications, endless number of filling this form, that form, not going anywhere. Because I feel right now, I begin to understand, I'm not an expert on this, and I feel this is designed for industry. The same thing is being put on the farmer, and no way he can fulfill these conditions. So we are requesting the Prime Minister to formulate a carbon credit system which will suit the farmer. Once he gets it to 3%, the amount of carbon he's sequestering is quite significant. And if that calculation is made differently, then how you would measure smoke coming out of a chimney is very different from what the plowed land is doing and organically rich land is doing are two reverse things. If that some kind of a thumb rule is developed and he gets the carbon credit, so that will be the second level of incentive. The third level of incentive is right now if you go to the marketplace, they say this mango is organic. What is this one? Is it inorganic? Is there something like that? So I'm saying organic has just become a marketing name. Nobody has to fulfill any particular requirement in that. Instead of that, if you say this mango comes from a field which has 3% organic content, there is enough science to tell us what are the micronutrients extra present in this mango? What are the health benefits? What are the preventive health benefits? What is the lowering of stress that happens to the healthcare system in the country? Healthier people, how productive they will become, how creative they will be. There are many, many benefits for the nation. All the data is there, we just have to collate it. So I'm saying the market should recognize that. So if my mango comes from 6% organic content, it must sit on a higher shelf. You pay more, but instead of eating 6 mangoes, you can eat 1 mango and you have the same nourishment. So, 3 levels of incentives. The details and how it is implemented in each nation has to be worked out by the governments. First thing is the incentive, next thing is the carbon credit system, because every company in the world has committed to zero carbon footprint, so they have money. They have money, they don't know where to spend. So this has to come to the farmer, it can be easily directed in the direction, and also in the marketplace, the shelf that a farmer sits upon or the produce sits upon must be different, then this wheat would not come back from Turkey.
One last question here.
Hello. Sadhguruji.
Where are you?
Yes, here sir.
Okay.
కొత్త టెక్నాలజీస్ వస్తున్న టైంలో ఇప్పుడు హైడ్రోపోనిక్స్ అనే కొత్త టెక్నాలజీ వచ్చింది. కేవలం మట్టి లేకుండా పంటలు పండించేటువంటి విధానం కొత్తగా వస్తుంది. సో ఈ నేపథ్యంలో మీరు మట్టిని కాపాడుకుందామని చెప్పి మూవ్మెంట్ స్టార్ట్ చేశారు. వివిధ దేశాల్లో ఇప్పటికీ చాలా కంట్రీస్లో ఇది ఇంప్లిమెంట్ అవుతుంది, పంటలు పండిస్తున్నారు, దాని నుంచి అనేక రిజల్ట్స్ వస్తున్నాయి. ఆ మూవ్మెంట్లో మట్టిని కాపాడుకుందాం అనే మూవ్మెంట్ ఏ విధంగా సక్సెస్ అవుతుంది అనుకుంటున్నారు?
Let me tell you a story. This happened in 2016. Certain number of scientists sought appointment with God and they got it and they went there. They went and told God, hey old man, you've done pretty well with creation, but everything that you can do, we can also do. God said, oh, is that so? What is it that you can do? They dug up a little bit of soil, made a vague image of a human child, they did all kinds of stuff and the child came alive. God said, that's very impressive, but first get your own soil. I want you to understand, sir, every nutrient, whether it's a microbe or a worm or an insect or a leaf or a tree or a bird or a man or a woman or an animal, or even the nutrients that they're injecting into the water comes from the soil. There is no substitute for soil. Do not misunderstand these technologies. Thank you very much.
Tosh, Power TV, Karnataka.
Just good evening, Sadhguruji. My name is Tirupati. You have taken a spectacular movement about soil save. But what is my question? You are saying cultivation, soil and food grain also. But if we go our rural areas and village areas, there is no land. Every day lakhs of agricultural land becoming into a ventures. After that, ventures becoming concrete jungle. So, how could you see this particular problem? And same time, our simultaneously our government also saying this is development. So, what do you think about this? And same time, it is good for our future generation. What do you think about this, please?
Well, there are multiple problems, sir, but I want you to understand this, that in the world, as I already said, 71% of the world's land is under farming. 4.2% of the land is urban. Yes, urban areas are slowly increasing, but you cannot take away 50% of the earth's land tomorrow morning for urban development. Such a thing will not happen, all right, because it's simply not practical. So urban development or building of homes are happening because you have 1.3 billion people. and nearly half the people, or at least 35 to 40% of the people, are just living in small shacks. Only now they're getting a home to live in. So you don't want them to have a home, they must have a home. So one thing we can do, which also is a proposal we are pushing with both Tamil Nadu and Karnataka governments, let's see who takes it up first, is we are promoting what is called as… I am part of the Future Cities, there is an organization called Future Cities. So this is a proposal I have given to governments and to certain organizations. See, right now, if you get out on the streets of Delhi during the peak hours, both sides of the traffic is busy. What does this mean? People who live there work here. People who live here work there. What's our problem? Why can't we work and live in one place? Simply because unplanned developments have happened. So one simple thing you do is another thing for which we will pay a very huge price is, I don't know, Tirupati, where you come from?
From Telangana.
Telangana, Hyderabad. Hyderabad is a little better off, but in Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, if you step out of the house, you will be straight into the traffic for most children. Children, if they walk out of their homes, they're straight into the traffic place. When children grow up like this, in another 15, 20 years, you will see the number of psychological problems that you will see in this country will be unmanageable. It's extremely important. A child can play, can jump, can climb a tree, can fall down. It doesn't matter even if he breaks something, it's important a child goes through all these things. None of these things are there simply because urban cities have become like this. So we are looking at, you can move away from the city, and we are encouraging some of the companies to go for this first. If you buy 50 acres of land away, you can get land at 10% of the price, and in 50 acres you build only 1 acre. You can go 50 floors or 100 floors, anyway there's 2 FSI. Offices, residences, a little bit of shopping, a school up to 5th standard, and theatre, everything can be housed in this. That means for 5 to 6 days in a week, you don't even have to step out. Remaining 49 acres, you convert it into forest. If you want to do little bit of farming, a part of it you can farm, your own regenerative farming you can do. You will live healthy lives, children will grow up well. This is very important because we must understand this. In the name of economy, in the name of development, we should not forget human beings. All these things are being done for human beings. But simply saying stop the development is not going to work because you have moved to the city, you're living in a reasonably comfortable home. In the village now they want to build. If the rural economy improves, which it must, it's my intent that a farmer should earn as much as a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer or an IT professional. Only then people will live on the land. Otherwise, in another 25 to 30 years, nobody will be doing any farming. We've done some kind of a vague survey. What I find is, not even 2% of the farmers want their children to become farmers. If this has to change, it is not teaching, it is not philosophy. What is needed is, the farming has to become lucrative. The farming should be an attractive proposition in economic terms for the next generation. Only then people will stay there and there will be farming in this country. We must understand we may live here without anything else, but not without food for sure. Thank you very much.
You're saying we can take 10 more minutes. Do you want to take 2 more questions?
Okay, come up.
We'll take 2 more questions.
Hello, Santosh, Power TV. ಸದ್ಗುರು ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ಕಾವೇರಿ ಕೂಗು ಅಭಿಯಾನ, ಎರಡನೇದಾಗಿ ಸೇವ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್, ಎರಡರಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ರೈತರ ಪಾತ್ರ ತುಂಬ ಮಹತ್ವದ್ದಾಗಿದೆ. ಮೊದಲನೇ ಅಭಿಯಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ರೈತರು ತುಂಬ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಿ ತಮಗೆ ಬೆಂಬಲವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ರೈತರ ಪಾತ್ರ ಎಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಹೊರತಾಗಿ ಇಶಾ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಎಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ರೈತರಿಗೆ ಅರಿವು ಮೂಡಿಸುವಂತಹ ಕೆಲಸಗಳಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಇಶಾ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಒಂದು. ಎರಡನೇದಾಗಿ ಕೆರೆಗಳ ಹೂಳುಗಳನ್ನ ತೆಗೆಯುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಶಾ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನ ತಾವು ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತ. ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಮಣ್ಣನ್ನ ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕೆರೆಗಳ ಪಾತ್ರವು ಕೂಡ ತುಂಬಾ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗುತ್ತೆ.
Well, in your question there are many anomalies. If I try to answer that, it'll get too technical, so I will leave that part of it. But to what extent will Isha Foundation get engaged? We must understand Isha Foundation is a
here to disseminate spiritual knowledge to people. But we have taken up these projects because we've not been able to ignore the problems on the ground. Our compassion has sucked us in to these projects. It's not my desire to be involved in these projects, really. But how can you just let it be when people are in such bad states of bad conditions? So we have got sucked into this. We will see that Kaveri calling, we will see it through, it'll take another 8 to 10 years' time, but we are committed for that. General awareness and general thing we will do, but on ground, right now, these 13 river projects that central government is taking up is very good. If they need our assistance in any way, we will definitely be available for that. And India is taking up the leadership or the stewardship of G20 nations from December this year. So after that, whatever is needed in the sphere of soil, definitely we will engage ourselves because in all these nations, there is immense respect and support for Safe Soil movement, particularly COP15 and COP27 is coming in Egypt, and that also is a big thing. And there is also movements in Commonwealth nations where India is also part of that. India has a dominant place in Commonwealth nations. There also we will participate. But on ground, this is something that, as I've been repeatedly saying, this can only be driven by incentives. Just inspiration and talk will work with a few farmers, but large-scale changeover of soil quality in the country can only be incentive-driven. There is simply no other way to do it.
Sir, Yogeshwaran from Malai Murasu, Tamil Nadu. சார், என்னோட கொஸ்டின் வந்து, இப்போ இந்தியா வந்து உலகளவில் இருக்கக்கூடிய மக்கள் தொகையில் மொத்த மக்கள் தொகையில் 17.5% மக்களுக்கு வந்து உணவு தரக்கூடிய நாடு. இப்போ இருக்கக்கூடிய நிலைமையில் மக்கள் தொகை ரொம்ப வேகமாக வளர்ச்சி அடைஞ்சிட்டு போகுது. அப்போ உணவோட தேவையும் அதிகரித்து கொண்டு தான் இருக்குது. உணவை உற்பத்தி செய்கிறதற்கு நம்ம இன்ஆர்கானிக் அந்த உரங்களை தான் பயன்படுத்த வேண்டிய கட்டாயம் இருக்குது. அப்படி கட்டாயம் பயன்படுத்தும் போது மண் வளம் பாதிக்கப்படத்தானே செய்யும். அதை எப்படி தடுக்க முடியும்?
This is not about either or. This is not about… we are not talking about organic farming, regenerative farming, natural farming. I'm saying, urban people, please don't suggest what kind of farming. Let the farmer decide how to farm. But do you believe that if the soil is rich, it'll be good for the farmer? Sir? Do you believe that rich soil… see, நீங்கள் உங்கள் ஊரில் போய் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, நீங்கள் கிராமத்தில் வரீங்க தானே, பார்த்தீங்கன்னா முதல்ல ஒரு ஜமீனுக்குள்ளே போனால் விவசாயம் என்ன பண்ணுவான், கையில் மண் எடுத்து அப்படியே பார்ப்பான். என்ன இது பார்க்குறான், உயிரோட்டமாக இருக்குதா இல்லையான்னு பார்க்குறான். நல்லா உயிரோட்டமாக இருந்தால் அதில் கொஞ்சம் கெமிக்கல் போட்டாலும் பரவாயில்ல. இது என்னன்னா ஏதோ புத்தகத்தில் படிச்சுட்டாங்க, கெமிக்கல் யூஸ் பண்ணக்கூடாதுன்னு. அதனால் இவரெல்லாம் அப்படி பேசிக்கிறாங்க. நான் அப்படி பேசலை. முக்கியமானது மண் உயிரோட்டமாக இருக்கிறது வெறும் விவசாயத்தை பற்றி மட்டும் இல்லை, உயிருக்கு அடிப்படை. நம்ம தாய்க்கு தாய் மண், தாய் மண்ணாக தானே சொன்னோம். See, what we are referring to as soil, unfortunately today, most people are understanding this as some kind of a resource. Soil is not a resource. Soil is the source of our life. Every one of us have fed upon our mother's breast. Will we call our mothers as a resource? The day you call your mother a resource, you've lost your fundamental humanity, isn't it? She is the source of our life. And what you call as soil is the mother of our mothers. All our mothers have come from the same soil. So, first and foremost, we must drop this idea, how to use it, how to use it. Well, soil is the basis of our life. Who we are is a consequence of what's happening in the soil. Keeping it alive, not just for us, for future generations is a fundamental responsibility, because soil is not our property. It's come to us as a legacy from previous generations. Passing it on as a living soil for future generations is very important. See, this is not a philosophy or ideology or religion. Please understand this. You want your children to live better than you is very intrinsic to you. It is not a teaching from somebody.
But right now what we are doing when we destroy soil is the possibility of good life, the foundations of good life, we are removing from their life. The very possibility for future children. UNFAO said something which deeply hurts me, is they said, today's dinner, what you're eating, is food that belongs to the unborn child. An unborn child means the most defenseless life. We are eating up that food. What kind of human beings are we? Are we that kind? Do we want to be that kind of human beings? This must change. This is not just about agriculture. This is not just about commerce. This is life. This is the basis of life. Let's think beyond that. Thank you very much. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Thank you for a very engaging session. There is a media desk outside. There's going to be an event at 6 o'clock at the Indira Gandhi Stadium, so you're all invited. And if you would like to come, then please collect your tags. And thank you again very much for an engaging session.